I think the moment should cause for a different conversation that a lot of people aren't talking about as it relates to Joe Biden and Donald Trump. And I'll go right back to it. I could sound ageist again, but we need to be talking about term limits or age limits as it relates to public office. Like that is this is one of the things that destroyed the Democratic Party for this election. I think just like you said, you're forecasting a loss. I'm forecasting a loss. I think if we would have had something like that in place, we could have already avoided this. It could have been a structural
Well, I
stop.
want I want to push back on that because Biden won
He
2020.
did.
You know,
Now you're
2020
right.
he won. He won as an old person.
You're right.
You
He
know,
did. He did. But I think most Americans think Joe Biden and Donald Trump, like whoever wins, regardless of whoever wins, they'll be the oldest president in history. And I think most Americans have a problem with that. Like, and to me, it's like not only are you seeing those problems play out in this election, you're seeing it play out with senators, you're seeing it play out with Supreme Court justices, and it's costing us. And that's a whole nother
well, the
conversation.
Supreme Court lifetime appointments. I think that's a different conversation
I was just about to say,
because it's like the Supreme Court is a very powerful tool that is like only tangentially related to anything related to what the people want, right? It's just kind of like luck of the draw when that person leaves and who happens to be president at the time. And, if something horrible happened, this is not an idea here, any crazy folks out there. But if something horrible were to happen and all nine of them were to pass away at once, now all of a sudden it's a fully blue court, right? Like it just doesn't make much sense to me
that
how
doesn't.
those lifetime appointments go. Um, so yeah, that's rough. But you know me, man. I like old people, man. I think
It has wisdom. They have
I'm
wisdom.
not a fan of term limits. I think a lot of people assume oh, just get some new blood in here. It's like new blood doesn't know anything. They don't got relationships with random people from France's government. They don't know what the strategy that China's employing and how to like counteract it and who to call over there. Like there's a lot of legacy knowledge that exists in those people that's been there for decades that they just know how to do stuff. And you put somebody fresh in there, they just don't know. And it's not like I'm not saying that you never have new people, but I tend to respect the experience that comes from age, and I don't like just dumping our government and having a bunch of rookies running the show.
No, I'm right there with you. It's to me, it's I'm not. I'm against it when it comes to the extreme. Like only when we're talking about the extremes. Like when you're reaching the higher end of life, I think it's a unfortunate fact of life that there's a fall off.
You
And
start breaking down at 70,
right,
stuff's to
right.
stop working.
Yep. It's just like that's the fact of life until hopefully knock on wood things change. Now if things change,
No,
I'm all
we got to
with
get to
it.
that too. But
Yep, that's what we got to get to. If we can get there, I'm all with it. But as of now, I think there is reasonable cognitive decline after a certain age and physical decline. And I think when you're dealing with a position as serious as the presidency of the United States, I mean, you got to be able
me ask you a
to.
question though. Why don't you just trust the democracy, right? So like,
I
for
do.
instance, like he won the primaries, right? Like
Right.
if you can win
Right.
as an old person, then why should we stop you, right?
Now, right
So
now,
and another thing too is it's not everyone ages equal. Like something breaks down when you get old, right? Like your body going, you don't know what's going to start failing, but something's going to start failing. And for some people, maybe it's your back problems, maybe it's your knees, maybe your eyes gone, your hearing. Sometimes your brain is good the whole way through, and then you got heart problems or whatever. And then other times your brain's the first thing to go, unfortunately. And you can move around, but you got Alzheimer's or you're forgetful or whatever. So I think like age, like you don't know what's going to fail. So like a blanket age limit, even though something's going to fail around then, you don't really know what. And if you win a democratic process, then who are we to throw an age limit on it?
now I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you, but I think I am for reasonable and like number one, I think the Constitution uh, is against that. Unfortunately, too, it's just like I'm for reasonable precedents, and it's just like if we have an age limit to like right now, me and you, we don't qualify to be president of the United States. We're not old enough, and it's
Right.
just like too young. And it's just like if we got it on the low end, I'm for, and there's reason for having it on the low end. Just like you said, there's things that come with time, like experience, wisdom, and on the higher end, just going to the extremes. I think there are reasonable negatives. And I'll like just like pointing to some of those. It's just like you got time zones. It's just like you got situations that are going to be happening in Ukraine and China, and like you, if you president and you 82 years old, like we got to, hey, Mr. President, it's 5 a.m. in the morning. We got to wake you up, and you got to be going until 3 a.m. And it's just like, reasonably speaking, can an older person do a job that is highly demanding like that? Like, and if you think about it in terms of presidencies and looking at history, the presidency ages like people faster than anything I've ever seen. Like Barack Obama,
All that stress.
yeah, it's just like you age, and I'm assuming, and I would even assume that there's like a science to it. It's just like the amount of stress that your body is going through, the amount of different time zones and jet lag, and having to wake up to deal with these crises that your body is going through on a just mere physical level. I think I think it's unreasonable to have an 82-year-old almost like again go another 4 years and be 86 and try to have a job that demanding.